Two people start the same job on the same day. They earn the same salary, live in the same city, and face the same economy. 10 years later, one has built investments, owns assets, and has the freedom to choose how they spend their time. The other is still waiting for the next paycheck, wondering why working harder never seemed to create lasting wealth. What changed? At first glance, it looks like one person simply made more money. But if you look closer, you'll often find something much more interesting. The difference wasn't income. It was the way they thought about money long before they had a lot of it. Many of us grow up believing wealth is a straight line. Work harder, earn more, save a little, repeat. It sounds reasonable because effort does matter. But if effort alone created kings, every exhausted worker would be wealthy by now. Clearly, something else is happening behind the scenes. History offers an unexpected clue. When people hear the name Machiavelli, they usually think of politics, power, or manipulation. Yet beneath those ideas was a much deeper observation about human behavior. He understood that those who shaped events rarely did so because they were the strongest or the busiest. They succeeded because they understood incentives, anticipated consequences, and stayed several moves ahead of everyone else. That way of thinking extends far beyond politics. It applies just as easily to money. Building wealth isn't simply about collecting dollars. It's about making decisions that quietly improve your position year after year. Every financial choice either increases your future options or quietly reduces them. The people who become financially independent often don't make dramatically different decisions. They make slightly better ones, consistently, while everyone else is distracted by what feels urgent today. Think about someone who receives an unexpected bonus. One person immediately asks, "What can I buy?" Another asks, "How can this money make my future easier?" The amount is identical, the opportunity is identical. But the questions they ask send them down completely different paths. That's why wealth is less like winning a race and more like playing chess. Every move influences the next. A careless decision today limits tomorrow's possibilities, while a strategic decision creates opportunities that didn't exist before. Over time, those small differences compound until two people with nearly identical incomes end up living completely different lives. This shift changes everything. Instead of seeing money as the goal, you begin seeing it as the result of disciplined thinking. Income matters, but judgment matters more. Opportunity matters, but positioning matters even more. The quiet decisions nobody notices today often become the financial freedom everyone notices years later. By the end of this conversation, you'll see why people who quietly build lasting wealth often think less like workers chasing the next paycheck and more like strategists protecting and expanding their position. And once you recognize that pattern, you'll start noticing a contradiction hiding in plain sight. One that explains why so many people who appear successful never actually become wealthy at all. Walk through an expensive neighborhood and you'll notice something interesting. The loudest signals of wealth aren't always coming from the wealthiest people. The luxury car parked outside the apartment, the designer clothes bought on credit, the newest phone replacing one that worked perfectly yesterday. These are all visible. But the investment account growing quietly in the background isn't. The business quietly buying another piece of equipment isn't. The rental property generating income while its owner sleeps isn't. That's because one is designed to be seen, the other is designed to grow. It's easy to believe that looking successful attracts success. After all, confidence matters, first impressions matter. There are moments when presentation opens doors. But somewhere along the way, many people confuse the symbol of wealth with wealth itself. They start buying things that communicate success instead of building the financial foundation that actually creates it. Think about two professionals earning a comfortable six-figure income. One upgrades their car every few years, moves into a larger home as soon as they receive a raise, and feels pressure to keep up with friends whose lifestyles seem even more impressive. From the outside, everything looks perfect. The other lives well, but below their means. They drive a reliable car longer than necessary, invest the difference every month, and quietly acquire assets that almost nobody notices. At dinner, they don't appear richer. On social media, they may even seem less successful. Fast forward 15 years. The first person owns expensive possessions that constantly demand new payments. The second owns investments that constantly produce new income. They started from nearly the same place, but they were playing entirely different games. This is where Machiavellian thinking becomes surprisingly practical. One of Machiavelli's greatest insights was that appearances and reality are rarely the same. Wise leaders learned to recognize that distinction because confusing the two often led to disaster. The same principle applies to money. Financial power doesn't care whether other people admire your lifestyle. It responds only to what you actually control. Every dollar spent chasing approval is a dollar that can no longer buy future freedom. And approval is one of the most expensive things you'll ever purchase because it has no finish line. As soon as one lifestyle becomes normal, another standard appears. The comparison never ends. That's why status consumption can become a silent trap. It rarely feels reckless. In fact, each decision often seems reasonable on its own. A slightly nicer watch, a slightly bigger house, a slightly more expensive vacation. None of these choices looks dangerous in isolation. But together, they quietly redirect thousands of dollars away from investments that could have been working for you for decades. Meanwhile, people who build lasting wealth often look surprisingly ordinary. They don't avoid spending because they dislike nice things. They delay unnecessary spending because they understand something more valuable than comfort today. Control tomorrow. That creates a simple habit worth adopting before every major purchase. Pause for a moment and ask yourself one question. Is this buying me an appearance, or is it increasing my future control? Sometimes the answer will still justify the purchase. Not every expense is a mistake, but that single question changes the conversation. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" you begin asking, "What opportunity am I giving up if I choose this instead?" Quietly, your decisions start changing, and eventually, so does your financial future. The strange part is that once you stop chasing the appearance of wealth, you begin moving closer to the real thing. Which raises an even bigger question. If appearances aren't the true source of financial power, then where does real power actually come from? Once you stop trying to look wealthy, a more important question appears. If expensive things don't create financial power, what does? A look at history points in an unexpected direction. The richest kings weren't the ones who worked from sunrise to sunset. They couldn't possibly have done that. Their wealth came from controlling the systems that produced value. They controlled farmland instead of harvesting crops themselves. They controlled trade routes instead of carrying goods. They controlled taxation instead of earning wages. Their power came from ownership, leverage, and position, not from effort alone. That principle hasn't disappeared. It has simply changed its clothes. Today, many people still trade time for money, and there's nothing wrong with honest work. The problem begins when work is treated as the only engine of wealth. Hours have a limit. Energy has a limit. Even the highest paying job depends on your continued presence. If you stop working, the income often stops too. Now compare that with someone who spends years building a small business, investing in productive assets, or owning shares in companies. They still work, sometimes harder than anyone else in the beginning, but gradually they create something different. Their income starts coming from systems they've built, not just hours they've sold. Think about a small business owner who hires a great team, or an investor who owns part of businesses around the world through the stock market. Their money begins producing more money without requiring every dollar to be earned through personal labor. That's a completely different game. This is the strategic shift Machiavelli would have recognized immediately. Lasting power belongs to the person who controls the machine, not the one who simply keeps it running. Financial freedom follows the same pattern. The goal isn't to become the hardest worker in the room. It's to steadily increase the number of assets, skills, and systems that continue creating value even when you're not actively involved. That doesn't happen overnight, but it can begin today. Look at your current skills and ask a different question. Could this skill become a product instead of just a service? Could today's savings become tomorrow's investment? Could one source of income eventually become two, then three? Each step moves you away from depending entirely on your own time, because once income starts coming from multiple systems instead of a single paycheck, your financial position changes in ways that effort alone can never achieve. But even people who own valuable assets sometimes make decisions that destroy everything they've built, which suggests the biggest obstacle to wealth may not be outside you at all. It may be much closer than that. Even after someone learns to build assets instead of just earning income, another problem quietly appears. Surprisingly, it isn't a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of emotional control. Think about what happens whenever financial markets swing wildly. During periods of excitement, people rush to buy because everyone else seems to be getting rich. Then fear takes over, prices fall, and those same people sell in panic. The strategy changes overnight, even though the long-term plan never should have. This pattern repeats everywhere. Someone buys an expensive car because a friend just upgraded theirs. Another abandons a solid investment because it isn't producing quick results. Someone else risks years of savings chasing the latest trend because they can't stand the thought of missing out. None of these decisions happen because people are unintelligent. They happen because emotion speaks louder than logic in the moment. Machiavelli understood that the first battle for power is always internal. A person ruled by fear, envy, impatience, or ego becomes easy to predict, and what is predictable is easy to manipulate. The same principle applies to money. If your emotions make your financial decisions, someone else usually profits from them. That's why emotional discipline comes before financial discipline. The smartest investment strategy means very little if you abandon it the first time uncertainty appears. One practical habit can protect you from countless expensive mistakes. Create a mandatory waiting period before every major purchase or investment. Give yourself 24 hours. For larger financial decisions, make it a week. That small pause creates space for strategy to catch up with emotion. Over time, you'll notice something surprising. Your best financial decisions rarely feel exciting. They feel calm. And once you can consistently control your emotions, a new question naturally emerges. Which decisions, repeated over years, quietly separate ordinary people from those who build wealth that lasts for generations? Once your emotions stop making your financial decisions, money starts looking different. It stops feeling like something that's meant to disappear at the end of each month. Instead, it becomes a resource waiting for instructions. That's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Think about how most paychecks are treated. Money comes in, bills get paid, a few purchases feel deserved after a long week, and whatever remains is considered savings. In that system, spending happens automatically, while investing gets whatever is left over. Now reverse that logic. Machiavelli believed that every resource under your control should strengthen your position. Resources that sit idle lose value. Resources used strategically create influence, security, and future opportunities. Money works exactly the same way. Every dollar can either solve today's problem once or help solve tomorrow's problems over and over again. Picture two business owners who each earn an extra $10,000. One celebrates by upgrading the office and buying new furniture that impresses visitors. The other reinvests that same money into better equipment, marketing, or hiring someone who increases the company's ability to grow. Years later, the difference isn't the original $10,000. It's everything that money produced after it was given a purpose. The same principle applies to personal finances. A dollar invested has the chance to return with company. A dollar spent without intention leaves alone. This doesn't mean every purchase must generate profit. Life should still be enjoyed. The difference is that intentional people decide where their money goes before it arrives. Every dollar has a job. Some protect the future through savings. Some build wealth through investments. Some improve life today. But none are left wandering without a mission. A simple habit can make this practical. Before you spend your next paycheck, decide the role of every dollar. Ask yourself whether it's buying comfort, creating security, or building future income. Once money has a purpose, you're far less likely to waste it on impulse. Over time, your capital stops working against you and starts working for you. And that's when another reality becomes impossible to ignore. Even the smartest financial system can only take you so far if you overlook one force that quietly shapes nearly every opportunity you'll ever receive: influence. Talent can open a door, but it rarely decides how many doors appear in your life. Think about two equally skilled people. One spends years working in isolation, hoping their ability will eventually be noticed. The other invests time building trust, helping others succeed, and earning a reputation for keeping promises. Months later, the second person is offered partnerships, introductions, and opportunities that never even become visible to the first. That's because wealth often moves through people before it moves into bank accounts. Business owners look for reliable partners. Investors back people they trust. Mentors recommend those who have already proven their character. Opportunities rarely travel in straight lines. They travel through networks built on credibility and mutual benefit. The most influential people understand this instinctively. They don't collect contacts to impress others. They build relationships where everyone has something to gain over the long term. They listen more than they speak. They protect their reputation because they know trust compounds just as powerfully as money. That changes how you should spend your time. Instead of asking, "Who can help me?" begin asking, "How can I become valuable enough that people want to keep working with me?" A single genuine relationship with the right partner, mentor, or collaborator can create more opportunities than years of isolated effort. Influence isn't about popularity. It's about becoming someone others are willing to bet on. And once your reputation starts creating opportunities on your behalf, another challenge quietly emerges. Building wealth is difficult, but protecting it demands an entirely different kind of wisdom. History is filled with kings who conquered rivals, expanded their kingdoms, and accumulated enormous wealth, only to lose everything because they planned for victory but ignored the possibility of disaster. The greatest rulers understood that every empire would eventually face famine, rebellion, economic strain, or unexpected enemies. Survival belonged to those who prepared before the crisis arrived. Money follows the same rule. Building wealth is difficult, but keeping it demands even greater discipline. Overconfidence has destroyed countless successful businesses and fortunes. A booming market convinces people that nothing can go wrong. A thriving company encourages risky expansion. Then one unexpected event exposes every weakness that was ignored. Think less like a gambler chasing the next win and more like a strategist protecting a kingdom. Keep emergency reserves that buy you time. Diversify so one mistake cannot erase years of progress. Review your risks regularly instead of assuming yesterday's strategy will always work tomorrow. Financial resilience is built through preparation, not optimism. When your wealth can survive uncertainty, you've achieved something far more valuable than growth alone. And that naturally raises one final question. After building it, growing it, and protecting it, what does a truly wealthy life actually look like? If you've followed this journey from beginning to end, you've probably noticed something surprising. Very little of it was actually about money. It was about the person making the decisions. That changes everything. Many people treat wealth as a finish line. They imagine that one promotion, one successful investment, or one lucky break will finally make them secure. But history tells a different story. Across generations, families who preserved wealth weren't simply earning more. They were thinking differently. They taught patience before profits, ownership before consumption, preparation before celebration, and discipline before comfort. Their greatest asset wasn't the money they inherited. It was the mindset that allowed them to keep creating it. That's the deeper lesson behind thinking like Machiavelli. It isn't about manipulating people or chasing power for its own sake. It's about seeing incentives clearly, staying calm when others react emotionally, preparing for uncertainty before it arrives, and quietly building a position that grows stronger with time. When you adopt that way of thinking, wealth stops being something you chase. It becomes the natural outcome of thousands of disciplined decisions that compound over years. This is why your weekly habits matter more than your occasional victories. Once a week, give yourself what you might call a king's review. Look back over your decisions and ask simple questions. Did this choice increase my future control or only my comfort today? Did I strengthen an asset or satisfy an impulse? Did I build resilience, deepen trust, or create new opportunities for my future self? Those questions may seem small, but repeated over months and years, they reshape the way you think. The people who quietly build lasting wealth rarely appear extraordinary from one day to the next. They simply refuse to let short-term emotions overpower long-term strategy. They keep learning. They adapt when circumstances change. They protect what they've built while continuing to create new opportunities. Over decades, those ordinary decisions become an extraordinary life. In the end, thinking like a king doesn't mean living above everyone else. It means living above your own impulses. It means understanding that every decision either strengthens your future or weakens it. The game never truly ends. Every new season brings different challenges, different opportunities, and different risks. And the greatest reward doesn't go to the person who makes the fastest move. It goes to the one who keeps thinking several moves ahead, year after year, while everyone else is distracted by the next paycheck. You can spend your entire life chasing more money and still never feel wealthy. That sounds like a financial problem, but it usually isn't. It's a thinking problem. The people who build lasting wealth don't simply earn more. They make decisions differently. Long before their bank accounts change, their mindset does. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. Every principle we've explored points back to one place: mastering yourself. Emotional discipline protects you from costly impulses. Patience allows opportunities to compound. Strategic relationships open doors that talent alone cannot. Careful planning shields what you've built when life becomes unpredictable. Money is simply the scoreboard. The real game is learning to think several moves ahead, even when everyone else is focused on the next move. That is why one simple question can change the direction of your financial future. Before making any significant decision, pause and ask yourself, does this increase my freedom, strengthen my position, or merely satisfy today's emotions? The answer won't always tell you what is easiest, but it will almost always point toward what creates lasting power. Over time, those small decisions quietly shape a completely different life. Look at families who preserve wealth across generations, business owners who continue growing through changing markets, or investors who remain calm while others panic. Their advantage isn't luck or perfect timing. It's the habit of thinking beyond the present moment, again and again, until strategic thinking becomes part of who they are. In the end, kings were never defined by what they owned. They were defined by how they thought. Build your wealth the same way, not with one brilliant decision, but with thousands of disciplined ones. The game never truly ends. It simply continues rewarding those who refuse to stop thinking further ahead.